Hello friends, in this video lecture I discuss about the technical description. I hope that you seen last video lecture. In the last video lecture I discuss about the technical proposal, and in this video lecture I discuss about the technical description. Technical description means what? First of all, technical and description. There are the two words here. Technical means whatever the object you describe, the overall object is called the technical description. Okay, so let's start it. Defining the technical description, the first and very obvious step is to define the object, machine or process. Whenever you define any object, any machine or any process regarding any technical process or maybe any your technical object is called the technical description. Then after, what is the meaning of describing? Describing means what? The descriptions is given the information about the physical features of the object or a machine with the dimension if the possible, and the material used to make it is the future for use. Any material or any machine, when you describe this machine or any object, that which parts are necessary and how the parts are made, and this machinery is how helpful for the another production, it's called the describing. The description must be so vivid that to the readers and able to visualize the thing. When you describe anything, take the example, whenever you have read or whenever you have to imagine the any things is called the description. Whenever any people is given to you the any object's idea, at that time the imagination of this object is considering in your mind. Then after, in the case of the process description, we must write the objective of the process and what is the final result. Whenever you describe any process, take the example for the process of making the clothes. So there are the three steps in it. First of all, there are the weaving, spinning, and then after the packing or the finished good. Okay, so you visualize the process. First of all, the weaving of the cotton, then after the spinning of the cotton, and then after the final and finished product of the cotton is the clothes. Okay, so the description is also include the advantage and the disadvantage of the object, machine and process. Whenever you describe any machinery, at that time you have to given the disadvantage and advantage of the overall machinery. This type of technical description is always is considering by the any sales representative. Take the example, whenever you go the outside and sometimes you say the roadside, there are the some representative regarding the water purifying machineries, and also there are the best example whenever you purchase the vehicle, at that time you go for the show, you go at the showroom, and at that time the overall the representative is he or she given the information regarding the overall vehicle, like the object of vehicle maybe is a two-wheeler or four-wheeler. At that time the overall information is provided by the representative to you, that this machinery have this type of objects, this type are the advantages of this machinery, this type of the disadvantage of these machineries. Okay, so technical description is very important whenever you are doing the business. Then after, there are the object of the description. Here I start with the two simple object for the technical description. First of all, the for example of calculator. Okay, whenever you describe any object, like take the example of calculator, so first of all you have to given the definition, means what is the meaning of calculator. So a calculator is a one type of electronic machine and that automatically perform the mathematical calculations. So it's a one type of definition, means you gave the information regarding the object. First of all you have to describe that this object is doing this type of work. Okay, so here I consider first of all the simple example. in your GTU examination, they have also considering like the specifying the object that give the technical description of the laptop, and sometimes they have also given the another machineries object as a object. And in the 2019 examination of the ETC paper, they have to given the choice that you have to select any object and given the technical description of this object. Whenever the technical description is given any object, at that time first of all you have to give the overall definition and what are the meaning of this objective, and then after you have to draw the diagram, and then after you have to given the overall summary of this objective, how the working the objective, this how work the object, and then after what are the parts of object, and then after you have to give the advantages and disadvantages of the object. Okay, so here is the first of all the example is considered the calculator. Then after, here is the diagram of the calculator. Whenever you given the example of the calculator, at that time you have to draw the diagram of this calculator. Here I take the image of this, but whenever you have to given any object example, at that time you have to draw the object. Then after, what are the components of the calculator? First of all, display screen, keys and the battery. Then after, how the object is work, means how the calculator is work. First of all, MC means memory clear, M plus means memory addition, M minus means memory subtractions, MR means memory recall, C or AC means all clear, CE means clear last whatever you have to work in it. Then the division, subtractions, results, multiplication and addition. So you can see here, first of all we have to give the object idea, then after we have to give the diagram, and then after the working process of the diagram. Then after, here is the example number 2 is the air cooler. What is the air cooler? What are the meaning of air cooler? Air cooler is the device that cools air through the evaporations water. Okay, so here is the diagram of the air cooler. In the second slide you can see here, see that first of all outside air is considering in the cooling pad, and then after through the pump and fan the water tank is working, and the warm air is converted into the cool air. So then after, what are the components of the air cooler? First of all, fan, pump, water tank and cooling pad. Then after, how the air cooler is working. An air cooler is the affordable and the electronic alternative to the air conditioning. Air cooler work on the principle of heat is lost during the evaporation process, resulting into the air cooler. There are much more effective and very dry climate in a more humid climate, and the air conditions will give the greater relief from the heat. Since an air cooler works on the principle of evaporation is used to water tank, that makes us the must be a periodically changes, means from the warm air converted into the cooler air. So it's called the air cooler. So here is the two simplest example for the technical description. Then after, Cochrane boiler. This example is considering in your textbook. So here I considering the Cochrane boiler and the description of this Cochrane boiler. But in the examination, Cochrane boiler is not asked, but may be asked in the GTU examination. So you have to prepare about it. But in the last, I discussed already that in the last examinations paper, they have to ask about the whatever object you have to like, you have to describe it. Okay. So here is a Cochrane boiler. Cochrane boiler is the modification of the simple vertical boiler where the heating surface has been increased by the increasing the number of fire tubes. Okay, when the fire tubes are increasing, there are the increasing in the heating surface. It is used for the steam generation at the low rate. this type of boiler are using for the steam generation. Then after, it is a fire tube boiler. Here is the simplest introduction about the Cochrane boiler. Whenever you give any technical description, at that time you have to consider first of all introduction. Then after, what are the characteristics of this boiler? First of all is a vertical. It considering the multi-tubes, then fire tubes, internally fire, and the natural circular boiler. Then after, what are the specification, any special features of the technical machinery or in the technical object, at that time you have to describe it. First of all, shell diameters is 2.75 meter, then the height is 5.75 meter, heating surface area is 120 meter square, then working pressure is 6.5 bars, maximum is 15 bar, steam capacity is 3500 kg per hour, and the maximum capacity of this boiler is 4000 kg per hour. Efficiency of this boiler is 70% to 75%. Here is the specification of this boiler. Then after, here is the diagram of the Cochrane boiler. Whenever in your examination you have to consider any technical object, at that time you have to describe it and you have to draw the diagram. Here is the diagram of the Cochrane boiler. Here you can see there are the overall technical parts of these Cochrane boilers. So here you can see there are the fire box, then the steam stop valves, then the doors, then the chimney, then the fire hot gases, boiler shell, fire door, then the blow of coke, then the mud and the water out during the blow, then the fire breaking lining, then the compressions chamber, then the water level, water in, water out, then the pressure meter, then the steam stopway, steam out. Here you can see the overall anti-priming pipes and the steam. So here you can see the overall diagram regarding the Cochrane boiler. Then after, this type of boilers are using for the any companies and the factories, wherever they have using the production process, at that time they have to use this type of Cochrane boilers. It's a very low, very less expensive and very useful for the production process. Then after, what are the basic parts of boiler? First of all, there are the cylindrical shell, means it's a shell which the different part of the boiler, there are the enclosed on which the different mounting are fitted. Means whenever you have to write the technical proposal, at that time you have to draw the diagram, and in the diagram whatever you have to given the name, okay, this name you have to describe that this labeling is about this object or this part, okay. Then the second one is a grate, means what, it is a perform the furnace on the which the fuel is burnt. Then the furnace in the firebox, it's a chamber which has to which perform by the space about the grate below, and the boiler shell which to be a combustion of the take place. It is also known about the firebox. The chamber is to be a containing the gas and the products produced by the combustion of the fuel. Then after, fire hole, it is a hole that through which the coal is added in the furnace. Then the ash pit means the area which to be ash is to be burnt and coal is to be collected. Then the smoke chamber, smoke box is the waste gases, and the chimney, there are the atmospherical in the is to be conveying the smokes. Then the main hole, It is the hole is providing on the boiler shell so that a workman can go inside the boiler on the main shape, and the strength point in the view is the oval shape. In the oval shape, the door or cover is to be provided the close to main hole. Then after hand hole, it is a hole is provided on the shell and give the easy access to the purpose of the cleaning and water tubes or some other internal parts of the boiler. There are also fitted with the covers. Then the mud box, it's a collected impurities present in the water. What are the impurities considering in the cell or in the plant is considering in the mud box. It is at the bottom of the barrel of the shell. These impurities are recovered time to time by the help of the blow of the cork. Then after the steam collecting pipe. Whenever the steam leaving to the boiler is containing to be a certain amount of water, and the anti-priming pipe they are used to separate the water particles from the steam and collecting the dry steams from the boiler. The water having a much higher specific gravity than steam, and that the foil back to the stream moves upward. Also, the deflector is provided the path of the weight stream which to be changed the direction of the weight stream, since the water particles having to be a more weight and the higher interior, so cannot flow the stream path, so to be a fall back, and this principle is used for the stream collecting pipe. Okay, so stream collecting pipe is used for the dry steam. Then after steaming is collecting pipe is a horizontal perform pipe. There are placed on the top of the steam space of the boiler. The wet steam enter into the pipe through the rectangular hole in the downward directions, and against the steam has to change direction and move upward. But the water particles having the high weight, so it's fall back into the settle in the bottom of the pipe, and the small hole is to be provided at the bottom of the pipe to drain the water. Here is the simple logic is considering here that the water weight is higher, so the water is considering at the lower of the plant and the lower of the Cochrane boiler, and the simple we can say there are the evaporation of the steam is the lighter weight, so it's considered on the top of the boiler. Then after, what are the construction of the Cochrane boiler? The boiler is considering the cylindrical shell and the hemispherical firebox and the fire tubes and the chimney. The top of the shell having the hemispherical shaped crown. There are the hemispherical crown of the boiler is given to the good strength with the stand of the pressure and steam inside the boiler. The hemispherical shape is to be a furnace can be withstand and the higher heat, and it's also provide the increased radical heat and the transfer this spherical hemisphere to the furnace wall. So the great place bottom of the furnace and the ash is split located below the overall boiler, and is the condensation of the chamber is connected with the short pipe fuel, and the water is combustion with the chamber and lined with the fire bricks, and the ash plate is located below the grate. Here is the construction over the overall the boiler is considering here. I also share one YouTube channel regarding the Cochrane boiler, how it's work, so you can simply understand it. Okay. Then after working, the water is supplied on the boiler through the feed check valve, and then after the coal introduce the grate through the fire door, and the hot is gases produced from the furnace entrance to the condensation of the chamber through the fuel pipe. This is the hot gas enter into the horizontal pipe tubes, and the convection of the heat is transferred to take the place from the gases is passing inside the tube and the water surrounding the tube. The fuel gases is coming from the fire tubes and enter into the smoke box, and finally there are the discharge the atmosphere through the chimney, and the ash is formed in the collected in the ash pit. The stream is collected through the anti-priming pipe of the wall and the shell. How it's work, I given some one YouTube channel and sorry one YouTube link, so you can easily understand how it's work. Okay, then after, what are the advantages of this Cochrane boiler? It is a complex and the portable boiler, therefore the minimum floor area is required. Second one, initial cost of this boiler is very less. Third one, it can be moved and set up the readily in the different location. Then fourth one, quick and easy installation of this boiler is very, we can say that the very less expensive and easily installation of any organization. Then after, fifth one, any type of fuel can be used like the coal or oil you can use in this Cochrane boiler. Then what are the disadvantages of this boiler? First one, steam rising capacity is very less due to the vertical design. Second one, water along with the steam many enter in the steam pipe under the heat is low due to the small steam space. Then the third one, efficiency is very poor in the smaller size. When you have to install the Cochrane boiler very smaller size, it cannot given the higher efficiency. So here are the disadvantage and advantage, then the construction diagram of the overall Cochrane boiler. But in examination, Cochrane boiler is not asked many times, but if asked in GTU examination, so you will prepare about it. Okay. So here is your technical description. This type of overall concept is regarding any object. Okay, so you will prepare about your any object like your laptop, yeah, like your in your studies you have to some machineries regarding study considering, so at that time you can also write your any subjects machineries diagrams and description about its advantages and disadvantages. Okay, if you have any query then you can ask me. Okay, thank you so much.